Hello and welcome to this online training course in practical qualitative data collection and analysis. My name is James Nobles and I'm a researcher at the University of Bristol within the NIHR Applied Research Collaboration. And I'm going to be delivering this training alongside some colleagues of mine, Dr. Tracy Stone, Dr. John Banks and Dr. Andrew Turner. And I'd just like to mention that also some of the content has been shared with us by other colleagues, Jeremy Horwood and Katrina Turner. So just before we get going, there were a number of things that I wanted to mention, given that we are delivering this training in an online format. One of the things that it enables you to do is go at your own pace through all of the content. You should be able to pause any of the slides and kind of make any notes if you need to at any point in time. Equally, what it enables you to do is to dive straight in, if you want to some of the sessions that you think might be most appropriate to you at any one given point in time. Equally, what you could also do is just start at the very beginning and work your way through sequentially all of the training materials and some of the tasks. Now there are, I think, 3 or 4 different tasks that you can take part in within the training. You very much don't have to, but those tasks are there, and the additional materials for the tasks, they are there to try and help cement some of the learning with regards to the particular session that task is associated with. You can then, as you've kind of gone through all of the training, and even if you've just gone into one particular session, what you can do at any point in time is revisit any of the materials. So you might think that after, say, going through all of the content, you might know in 5 or 6 months' time that you're going to be doing some qualitative data analysis. You could then go to that specific session and revisit it whenever you want to. We quite often deliver these training sessions in more of an in-person, face-to-face sort of format, and obviously within those kind of sessions there will be plenty of opportunities to ask questions which are very pertinent to your particular project. So we want to ensure that that is still available for people, and so if you do have any questions that kind of arise throughout these training materials, then feel free to get in touch with a member of the team with any questions that you might have. And just before we move on to giving an overview of what's actually within the training, I just wanted to say that this is quite a new way of delivering content for us, and we are quite keen to be able to adapt and update this as we go forwards. And so if you do have any feedback, we'd be really quite eager to hear that from you so that we can continuously improve the work that we're doing and the training that we're providing. I'd now like to outline what to expect from this online training course. We've developed like a series of discrete sessions. As I said before, you don't have to work through these sequentially. You might just want to jump straight into, say, the section on practical approaches to data collection. And there's 5 of these sections in total, ranging from an introduction to qualitative evaluation through to actually how to report and use some of the qualitative findings. There's actually more than 5 recorded sessions though. So within some of these different sessions, you might find that there's, say, 2 recordings. So in total, we've developed about 90 minutes worth of online talk content. And alongside of that, there are a number of different activities that can be undertaken in your own time. And they're there, as I said before, really just to give you a bit of a walk through some practical experience with regards to the particular bit of the training that they're linked to. So the first section of the training is just an introduction to qualitative evaluation. So some of the principles behind it, some of the reasons why you might want to undertake it, and also how it links in with some of maybe our more quantitative approaches that perhaps we might be more familiar with. So if you're undertaking something like a survey, we actually start to outline some of the reasons and some of the ways in which qualitative work might supplement that. But as you will see myself talking about and also other colleagues talking about, we really focus on the practical application of the qualitative methods and data analysis approaches. And so within this next section, we look at the ways in which you might undertake some interviews or some focus groups, and we provide a number of hints and tips on how you might actually go about improving that if it's something that you're already familiar with doing. We then move on to the ways in which you might record and capture some of the information that comes from, say, the interviews and the focus groups. And we start off with talking about, say, using a dictaphone to do an audio recording. And then we go through a series of different approaches right through to a technique known as active listening, where you might be carrying out an interview and making written notes at the same time, and that then becomes your data source. We then move into the practical approaches to analysis. And this is often a step, if you like, within qualitative evaluation that can be very, very time consuming. But what we try and do here are talk through the practical steps that can be undertaken to make sense of some of the qualitative data that you might have collected. And we do that by talking through two particular approaches, one around thematic analysis and another around framework analysis. And we really have a number of tasks that are associated with this and other sections to enable you to have a go at doing that. And then the last section of the training is looking at the ways in which we can make the most use of all of our findings. So how can we report our qualitative findings in a way that both makes sense, they're in a format that's useful, and they're in a format that's usable. I'm sure many of you will have seen lots of evaluation reports in the past which aren't possibly best fit for purpose. And so here we really focus in on what are the key things that you should be looking to include within a report of qualitative evaluation findings. And that hopefully gives you a bit of an overview of what to expect and some of the outcomes that are associated, as I say, with each of the section of the training materials. So before we kind of get going within each of those sections of the training, there's just a number of, I think, considerations to reflect upon before you get going. So within any evaluation, there are, I think, three main considerations to take into account. And each of these considerations do have an impact on one another. So the first thing to think about is how much time have we got to be able to allocate to this evaluation, which in turn might then have an impact upon the amount of human resource and financial resource that would be required, and vice versa. You might know that you've only got a certain amount of, say, days, or you might know you've only got a certain amount of budget, and that's therefore going to have an impact on the amount of time that can be spent on doing the evaluation. But another thing that will have a significant impact on the quality of the work that you seek to undertake is actually the scope of the evaluation. It's quite easy to try and evaluate everything, but what we want to do within these training and this training content is really try and narrow down the scope of the evaluation that you're doing so that you can really ensure it is of a high quality, you have got enough time to do it, and you have got the resource to be able to do it to the best of your ability. There are also some other caveats, I think, which are worth mentioning to this training. As I've said on the slide before, this is all about the practical application of qualitative evaluation methods and analytical approaches. And it's also done at quite an introductory level. So if you were looking to, say, publish some of your evaluation findings, what you might actually find is that you should either go and seek some support from a university or a consultant who's got a bit more experience in qualitative methods, because what we cover here are very much the basics, and there are a number of other steps that might be taken to give something that rigor that might be worthy of, say, publication in an academic journal. So that's not to say that shouldn't be something that you, say, look towards in the future, but if that was an ambition, then perhaps this training needs to be supplemented with, say, some further reading or some more in-depth training that is possibly provided elsewhere. So that's everything, I think, with regards to this introduction to the training. And you're next going to hear from John, who's going to give a bit of an introduction in terms of qualitative evaluation. I really hope you find the rest of the training useful. And as we said beforehand, if you do have any questions, feel free to email those to any member of the team. Thank you.